Christ-like love is not something a person can create on their own. It is something God pours into a willing heart. When someone decides to love like Jesus, it is as if heaven begins to breathe inside them. The heart becomes softer, lighter, and more open to the whispers of the Holy Spirit. Instead of reacting out of old wounds or emotions, a person begins to respond out of a deeper grace. They start noticing that anger doesn't control them the way it used to. Words that once would have been sharp suddenly come out gently. Situations that used to overwhelm them begin to feel manageable because the presence of God is working within. It is a quiet transformation, but a powerful one. This love reshapes the way a person sees themselves and the people around them. It gives them the strength to extend patience where frustration once lived. It empowers them to listen longer, forgive quicker, and speak with more tenderness. The heart becomes a home for God's love, and that love spills into every conversation and every relationship. When someone chooses Christ-like love, they no longer respond to life with their own limited strength. They respond with the strength of God inside them, and that changes everything. As this love grows, it begins to break barriers that once seemed impossible to move. Christ-like love is not passive. It is powerful. It steps into broken places and brings healing. It walks into conflict and brings peace. It enters conversations filled with tension and diffuses them with gentle wisdom. When a person loves like Jesus, walls of bitterness begin to crumble. Hearts that were hardened begin to soften. People who were distant start to draw near again. Christ-like love doesn't win arguments, it wins hearts. It has the ability to reach places that anger and force never could. A kind word can melt years of resentment. A sincere act of humility can restore a relationship that seemed beyond repair. A gentle response can silence a storm of negativity. This kind of love changes the atmosphere around a person. It becomes a witness stronger than any sermon. People may forget what you said, but they never forget how your love made them feel. And in the most unexpected moments, God uses your obedience to open doors you never imagined. Suddenly, breakthroughs begin to happen, not because you fought, but because you loved. Healing arrives not because you demanded it, but because you created space for God to work. Christ-like love becomes the key that unlocks closed hearts, closed opportunities, and closed blessings. When someone walks in this kind of love, they invite God's miraculous intervention into their life. Miracles often follow obedience, and loving like Jesus is one of the highest forms of obedience. When you love someone who hurt you, heaven pays attention. When you show grace to someone who doesn't deserve it, God takes notice. When you choose kindness over bitterness, God steps in. Sometimes the miracle isn't something you see with your eyes immediately. Sometimes the miracle begins inside you. It may start with peace where there was once anxiety. It may show up as strength where there was once weakness. But soon the blessings begin to flow in visible ways too. Doors open that you didn't even knock on. Opportunities come that you didn't chase. Favor surrounds you in rooms where your name was never mentioned before. God honors those who choose to love like His Son. He showers unexpected blessings on those who stay faithful to His heart. And it is often in the moments when love feels the hardest that God releases the greatest breakthroughs. Christ-like love becomes the soil where God plants His supernatural work. It becomes the path that leads to divine encounters, answered prayers, protection, provision, and unexpected joy. When you love like Jesus, you make room for God to move in your life in ways you never saw coming. But the most beautiful part is this: overflowing with Christ-like love doesn't just change the situations around you, it changes you first. It shapes you into a reflection of Jesus. It softens your tone, renews your mind, and strengthens your character. People begin to feel peace when they are near you because they sense God in you. Your presence becomes calming. Your smile becomes healing. Your words become uplifting. You become the kind of person others trust, admire, and seek out for encouragement. And with every loving choice you make, your influence grows. You start inspiring others without even realizing it. Family members begin to notice the difference. Friends begin to change how they speak when you're around. Strangers feel seen and valued because of your kindness. Christ-like love becomes contagious. What God pours into you starts to overflow, and that overflow touches people who never expected to encounter something so pure. One small act of love becomes a seed planted in someone's heart, and that seed can grow into transformation. A gentle response today may be the reason someone else chooses hope tomorrow. A forgiving heart today may be the reason someone else decides to heal. A compassionate act today may be the reason someone else chooses to follow God. When love overflows from you, it becomes a ripple that reaches far beyond your imagination. It doesn't stop with one person. It spreads from heart to heart, home to home, and generation to generation. Your children learn love by watching you. Your friends learn grace by experiencing it from you. Your community becomes brighter because your light refuses to dim. And then something surprising happens, something you never expected. The love you give begins to return to you multiplied. People begin treating you with the same kindness you offered. Doors begin opening because your reputation is marked by grace. Blessings begin flowing because your heart is aligned with God's heart. Relationships grow stronger. Faith grows deeper. Life becomes fuller. Not because everything is perfect, but because Christ-like love reshapes how you walk through every season. It gives you strength in difficulty, patience in confusion, and peace in storms. Loving like Jesus doesn't just benefit others. It builds an unshakable life for you. It makes you emotionally stronger, spiritually deeper, and mentally calmer. You begin to see the world through God's eyes. You begin to handle challenges with God's wisdom. You begin to experience life with God's joy. Overflowing with Christ-like love becomes your greatest testimony. It becomes the reason people wonder what changed in you. It becomes the reason you see God's hand in places you never expected. Love is not just something you give. It becomes the miracle God uses to transform everything around you. When you overflow with Christ-like love, you don't just follow Jesus. You become an expression of His heart to the world.